All right, hello everybody. I'm back after a long time with some new live coding of UNO platform, and this time it's gonna be all about WebAssembly. Actually, I was browsing the V3C working drafts on the website and found two interesting new APIs that have been added and actually implemented in Chrome and Chromium browsers in general. So that's the virtual keyboard API that allows you to programmatically open and close the virtual keyboard on a mobile device. And secondly, a battery status API, which was actually there before. There was some kind of battery manager API, but it was scratched because of some security concerns. But it's returned and it's actually now implemented in Chromium, so it's going to be an interesting thing to add because we already have Power Manager on Android and iOS, so that's going to be a great addition, I think. So let's jump right into it. I actually suggest we start with the Virtual Keyboard API, which seems simpler, has a little less properties and less methods, and then we will start on this one. Not sure if we will be able to finish both, but at least the Virtual Keyboard API seems promising. So I was actually searching for how it's currently implemented on Android and iOS. And we actually have an implementation of both that, like the API itself is input pane on UWP. So let's jump first there. And it's in here in Windows UI View Management namespace. And this is interesting. Core input view. I didn't actually see this notice before, but okay, we will start with the simple things, because input pane, the most interesting methods definitely are try hide and try show, because those are the ones that actually try to show and hide the virtual keyboard. And that should be quite easy to implement because the virtual keyboard API has both hide and show methods. So as long as the API is itself implemented in the browser, it should be a breeze to implement this one. So let's do it. Okay, I will make a branch for this. And it's going to be virtual input pane. WebAssembly, and let's actually, the good question is if we already have some sample for input pane to actually be able to test it easily. Let's search. Interesting comment, but I don't understand it. So there's input panel extensions in simple sample application, but it doesn't seem to be specifically a sample page for it, which would be something that's quite useful. So let's maybe first implement a sample page on which we can test it, and then we will start implementing the feature itself. Okay, we'll switch to Windows. And I will actually set the taskbar to show the virtual keyboard button. Oh, okay, it crashed the taskbar, that's very nice. Yeah, the taskbar is not yet completely stable. Okay, so let's close this and let's do UNO and Windows only. Okay, we'll create Is it view management? It's view management, right? Windows UI view management API. Let's create a new item and let's call it input pane tests. All right. Better. All right. Did it get created or? Oh, it's still loading something. Well, let's wait. We have time. We've got a lot of time. Okay, so the page is created and let's first clean it up because I hate these comments and this keyboard. Actually, it can be even cleaner like this. Nice. And let's implement some functionality. Oh, actually, we're gonna need it. Or do we? Yeah, we actually. Instead of this, we will use the sample attribute and we will use a view model. So let's see view model type. Yeah. Okay. Class input pane view model. Tests, and I will connect it like this, and it's to derive from view model base. All right, and we need a dispatcher constructor, and we should be fine. It has to be internal. Okay. So we got a view model and we will start setting up the properties of input pane. Input pane. And we will get for current view. There's also get for current UI context. We'll probably have to implement both as it makes sense to make it available, even though we don't really have UI context support in UNO platform. It should still work because why not? And if you are using UI context in WinUI, then this will make a lot of sense. In any case, we can just return the same instance for both cases, so it's something worth implementing definitely. So for now, I will use this one. We'll have input pane. And now we will do some setting up. So it's visible, Occluded Rect. Yeah. Hiding, showing. And what are the events? Only hiding and showing and Occluded Rect. There is no event for its change, so you cannot observe if it's changing, and visibility is probably connected to showing and hiding. So that's okay. Let's maybe create some properties for this. So we will have a property called is visible, which will, let's store this one here. Pane. I will enable nullability so that we have a null reference exception safe code. Right. Input pane is nullable. And we will have to check if it's actually available. If it's not, we will just make sure that everything is disabled. So I will have one more property here is available, and that's gonna be with private setter. Oh, actually, we don't need the setter. It can be right here. So input pane equals null. It's available. It's gonna be false. Or let's make it even simpler here. So it's available. Not equals. No. All right. This will make it hidden. Then we will have getter setter for is visible. And I actually have to do one more thing here. So let's do it like this. Data context changed. So when data context is changing, I will initialize a property that will allow me to do xbind on the view model, just for simplicity's sake. Yeah, that's a very Christmassy song. Maybe it's gonna be better. All right, so setter is set. We will take args, new value as input pane test view model. And, oh, actually, let's check it. If args new value is input pane test view model, then we set it. All right, so that's gonna give us the view model. Initially, it's gonna be null, so it's to be nullable. And all right, it has to be internal, not public. Good. And now let's create a command that will update the properties on the view model. So it's gonna be a I command refresh command get or create refresh, and for this one we are gonna have implementation here. And we'll set up all the properties we're gonna have here. So for now it's private pool is visible. There is some kind of occluded rect, so rect. And let's see, what else is there? Is visible. Let's rename it so it matches the text itself. So, interesting error. Let's ignore it then. Let's keep it like this. It's visible. Then, yeah, we're gonna have to check first if input pane is null. Then we just short circuit and return. And then let's do the rest of the properties. So occluded rect. I just have to turn this into full property so that we have the notification. Is visible. And setter is visible value. And on property or raise property changed. Yeah. Okay, so that's the first property. The second one is occluded rect. Yes, and that's a rect. So let's do rect, occluded rect. Come on. Set, and the same thing here. All right, that's the second one. We will need one more property, right? It's Oh, it's just these two properties, so that's all we need. So this will do the refreshing itself, but we want to have additional commands like hide command, get or hide, and also show. And we actually, it's not hide, it's try hide and try show. So I'm using this naming now. And the funny thing is that we will want to also display the status of what's happened. So I will add a string variable. That's gonna be message, status. That makes sense. So it's gonna be initialize as empty string. This is fine. All right. So in the status, we will show if the last operation was successful or not. Good. So let's implement the methods. So try show will do input pane, try show, and the result will be toStringed into status. This is kind of messy, but it's a one-liner, so why not? The same thing for try hide. Let's do try hide the result so it's more readable. And what else is there? Input pane, try hide, try show, get for current view, we have that. Occluded Rect, that's fine. And the events, we need the events, of course. So let's add, I'm thinking what we can do if we want to set up the events immediately or actually later. Yeah, I will check how we did it for sensors. I think there was like a toggle for each of those events. Yeah, attach and detach. Maybe here is enabled. I think there was in some cases I used a toggle button for that, but this makes sense as well. We can probably do that. Or let's simplify it and use the toggle. All right, so I will have two more properties. One will be private bool showing is showing attached. Initially false. Same for is hiding attached. False. And that property is gonna be attaching the event for the input pane. So we'll check if the value changed, and in that case we will set it. And if it's true, we are going to attach to input pane showing, and we'll create an on showing event. Yeah, and yeah, if input pane not null, so this way, and the same thing for hiding. Yes, is hiding attached? Yeah, right. On hiding. Okay, so these two methods will indicate what happened. I guess that we will have to output this as well. So I'm thinking if we, instead of a simple string, won't use a multi-line string and then have a button to clear it, which probably makes sense. So let's do it like this. Okay. I will make a method. Add status, which will have a parameter, and it's gonna do status plus equals message plus environment new line. So this way it will start outputting new lines. Well, maybe let's order it differently. Let's do it like this. So the new messages will be on top. Like this. Nice. Okay, and so in these methods we will just add status on showing event executed, and the same thing for the hiding event. Okay, let's clean it up a little bit. And that should be all the functionality that we need, at least for now. One thing that I can't forget is I have to unsubscribe. If not value and input pane is not null, then I will unsubscribe. And the same thing for by complaining. I am really checking for the fact if it's not null. So what is the problem here? That is odd, because I think that this check is okay. Oh, right, I'm stupid. So yes, else if, of course, not else. Right. Okay, that's fine. So that's this, and we also make sure that while we'll closing the sample page, we will also unsubscribe if there is a subscribed event for input pane. So I will add disposable. Create, and it's just gonna make sure to unsubscribe. So it's gonna be is hiding attached false and is showing attached false. And the property setters will take care of unsubscribing automatically. Okay, so that's it, and let's just make sure that the namespace or the category of the sample is something nice. So we'll make it Windows UI View Management. And finally, to complete this, I will make the UI actually do something. So I will first wrap the content in a content control, and the reason for that is So I'm able to easily disable all the controls based on the value of the isEnabled property. So is available property actually. So if the I will actually use this one here, defile bind mode one way, because most of the properties, if not all, will be one way. So just to simplify things. Okay, so if the input pane is not available on that device or on that browser, it will just disable the whole sample page. Okay. Maybe we should also add a text message that will tell the user that the control is not available. We can do that with the status message. So I will just adjust the code here. So if not available, status not available, pane is not available on this device. Right. That's all good. And let's continue with this. So we'll add a button for the refresh. Command. We'll add a button for, or actually, let's do a toggle button. And it's gonna be bound to, is checked, is gonna be bound to model is showing attached. Showing event. And the same for hiding. And in this case I need to be two-way. And finally, the properties themselves. So text block for what is it called? Ooh. Is visible. Run text xbind model is visible, and another text block for the occluded rect. And finally a text block for the status message. Okay, now let's add a nice spacing like 8, and let's make this with some nicer foreground, dark green. All right. What is this? This should hopefully be enough. And if I didn't forget anything, I think we could actually try to start this one. All right, let's see. There is actually a very nice website called What Can Web Do Today? And they have a lot of samples for these modern APIs which are not usually available. So there is an example for file access, storage quotas, and so forth. This is interesting actually. This should allow oh, this is very cool. So you can get estimate of storage quota for your application, which could actually mean that we could implement like a way to check the hard drive size and free hard drive size. But the interesting thing I wanted to show is that there is, where is it? The battery status. So it can show you if your device is charging. This is actually a desktop PC, so it's charging all the time. And there is also this virtual keyboard sample, I think. Or not? Oh, they don't have it. But there was some other sample which was showing the virtual keyboard. Sample. Yeah, this one. So if I actually go to this demo, it should be able to open virtual keyboard on a mobile device, but I don't have it here because I'm on desktop. So let's switch to my phone and let's try to open it. This is very cool. I just copied the link from the PC and it showed up on the phone thanks to your phone. So that's a very cool feature. Whee. All right. So if I click this, I will get the virtual keyboard showing. And if I send something, oh, maybe I have to go to that page. Yeah. So if I click this, it will show the geometry change of the virtual keyboard. It's occluding some height and width. And when I close it, it's gonna show it's hidden now. So that's pretty cool. And it'll be interesting to see what happens if I rotate the device like this. And if I split to two screens, well, I don't want to split, I want to have it on this side and just do this. Interesting. So in this case, when the virtual keyboard is not occluding anything, the geometry change is not registered at all. That's interesting. Yeah, nothing. It just does not do anything, but it does show the keyboard. It's the API for showing and hiding is still working. Okay. Whoops. Let's flip it back. And let's see what happened here. It failed. It failed. And that's because I'm missing a project or it's not compiled yet. So I'll add it. Show hidden projects. Yeah. This one. Build it. Oh, it succeeded. Oh, it didn't do anything. Okay. Rebuild. And now it should launch properly. So yeah, this virtual keyboard API is from September 2021, so pretty new. And this battery status API was actually changed today. It's 3rd February, so just today they published a new version of the working draft. It's pretty nice. It's actively being worked on, and that means they are making changes as we go. Still building. They actually have the standards somewhere here. It was somewhere here. Let's see. All specifications, yes, this one. So we can actually search for various specifications based on status, based on version, and so on. So it's pretty nice to here and there go here and walk through what's new and to see if some new API is showing up that could be implemented, especially for Uno. All right, we have Uno samples. We go here to view management, input pane, and refresh. So there is no... Oh, what I forgot is obvious. I forgot to add a button to show and hide the virtual keyboard. So let's do it live. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe not. Try show. Try hide. And command's gonna be xbind model show command. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Xbind's not gonna work. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna work. Yeah, it's not doing anything, which is pretty sad because I will have to most likely rebuild, or I can use binding, because in that case it's probably gonna reflect the change. Let's see. Yeah, nice. So on a desktop PC, trying to show and hide the input pane is just failing miserably, which is fine by me. I can live with that. And so the point is that the API or the sample page is working, so it's something we can use and start implementing. I will just add some padding so it's nicer. Yeah, nice. All right, so we have a sample page ready for our code. I'll switch back to xbind so that we don't mix it up. And let's do the WebAssembly implementation now. So let's switch the target to WebAssembly. And let's open the solution. All right. I'll close all tabs for now because I don't need them, and I will go to input pane. And let's start implementing something simple. So yeah, I see that we have already the get for current view implementation here. So that's cool. The question is if we do or do not have, well, it seems like we have input pane everywhere, but It just does not do anything on the not supported platforms. Yeah, it seems so. So input pane is done from this regard. So we just need to implement this partial methods here. So try show and try hide. Come on. I could just delete these myself then. Oh no, it's gonna be freezing. Come on, Visual Studio. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Nullable enable, and let's do file scope namespaces because we're cool now and we can do it. And we also, while we're at it, we will just adjust the main file to use file scope namespaces because why not? All right, so this is fine. And let's do the implementation of the partial methods. Try hide, try show. Yeah, all right. So one important thing that is worth doing is to adjust this logic because currently it always returns an instance, but I think it should not return an instance in case the input pane is not supported. And that's a question if it's the behavior that you should expect. So methods get for current view. Oh, really? Yeah. And what about this one? I guess that the input pane is always available because we are on a desktop PC and it wasn't available technically, but it still returned an instance, so maybe it's always not null. So in that case we just do the try show, try hide and so on. Let's add a constant, just type and call it Windows UI view management input pane, and then do WebAssembly runtime and invoke JS, and we are gonna call it, well, let's just use interpolation, JS type dot try show, and the same thing for try hide. And the return type is gonna be a boolean, so it's a string of bool, so bool string if bool try parse bool string. Out var value, else it's gonna be false. Or even better, let's do it like this. Oh really? The try show partial and try hard partial methods are actually void methods, of course, because they are partial. So in this case, we should actually do it a little bit differently. So instead of partial methods, we will use a real method. Try show platform and try hide platform. So that we allow the platform to tell us if the showing or hiding was successful or not. So in this regard, we have broken the current implementation on Android and iOS. So we will have to fix it here. Internal, or we can do private, and we'll just return true for now, because that's in line with with the implementation that we had before. Or actually, in this case, we can return false, and in this case, we can return true. All right. So if the view does not exist, we do false, and otherwise return true. Okay, that's it. That's probably all we need on Android. The same thing on iOS. We need some implementation, some very basic. Actually, we need an implementation for Skia and the others as well, at least one that does not do anything, but it exists. So if not Android and not WebAssembly, we will have an implementation that doesn't do anything on the other platforms. And the same thing for the try show. Yeah, and actually on iOS we have try hide, so we can exempt this one platform here. Yeah, that's fine. So for the not implemented platforms, it's gonna just do nothing, and basically we have to return something, so we'll return false. False. Okay, so that's it. Let's check. Yeah, we can actually now implement the WebAssembly part. So instead of this, we have try show platform and try hide platform, and then we will return this in both cases. All right. So that should be the implementation on the manage side, and now let's implement the JavaScript or TypeScript portion of the code. TS, Windows, UI, View Management, Input Pane, TS. And I will just copy paste this boilerplate so that I don't have to remember how it's done in TypeScript. And in here, we'll start actually calling the APIs from this draft. So there is a hide and show method, and we have to actually first check if the virtual keyboard is available. So let's do it first. Now we also actually let's do a method, and I'm not sure if we do it. So we could do it public static. Try show boolean, and public static try hide boolean. And because we have different casing, we'll adjust it here as well. Ooh. Okay, try show and try hide. And now we need to check if the virtual keyboard API is available. And we don't have it, so we'll need to set up a interface to have the properties and such available. So this is done like this in a similar manner. So I will do, or maybe actually there is a type definition already. So let's try definitely typed. Repository, virtual keyboard. Yes, no. Huh. No, doesn't seem to be. But let's still try to search for example, this one. This is very interesting name. So all GitHub. And it would be Typescript. Nope. It's not even TypeScript. JavaScript. Yeah, we'll just have to write the definition manually. And the fun thing is I don't remember at all how it's done, so that's gonna be interesting. Virtual keyboard. Like this, and then I do interface keyboard and do some properties like show height and okay, show height. Oh no, it's not like this, it's show I want a simple method. Wait. Oh, this works. So show height and bounding rect overlays content on geometry changed. Not sure about this at all. Overlays content, bounding rect. Boolean. Maybe like this. So we first check if virtual keyboard is available. If not, we return false. And if it's available, we can call navigator virtual keyboard show and return true because we've shown the virtual keyboard. The same thing for this one. So we hide or return false if we don't, if you're not able to. Okay, let's see what happens. This will be just a hide and show method, so nothing too groundbreaking, but it should also give us something at least for now. Overlays content. We probably will have to implement this one to be able to see if the keyboard is shown or not. But for now, let's keep it simple and keep just this implementation. Have a rebuild. The interesting thing will be to see if we are able to open the site on the phone, because we will need to run it on the phone to be able to see if the virtual keyboard is actually opening or not. On desktop, the API does not do anything useful, and it just doesn't show anything. So even though it's available, so navigator, virtual keyboard, no. Yeah, it is there, but it does not do anything. If I do show, it doesn't show anything, so it's not very useful on desktop. Okay. We're still building. Oh no, something failed. Is it serious? Well, who knows? Nothing is red here, so I will just hope it's not serious. I'll let it finish. And I will try to run it in debug mode, but it's gonna be tricky. Because I recently have had problems with running the WebAssembly site with debugger attached, even though it does not do anything. But I needed to be able to connect to it via this plugin from the phone. So let's hope it works at least somehow. I can actually show you the Battery Manager API on the phone before it finishes building. So let's do it like this and go to what can web do today. And there we find battery status. So you can see that my phone is currently charging and it's on 31%, which matches the number you can see here. So the implementation works, and it's actually now supported on Edge, Chrome and Chromium on Android. So that's pretty nice. We are almost finished here. All right, so the build is finished. So let's okay. All right, so this is done, and let's launch the application in debug mode and hope it does not crash immediately. Oh no, it's building again. No, we did not want this to happen. Hopefully it's gonna be faster this time. Okay. It's not that faster. Maybe at least some projects will be skipped. Okay, let's go back to the standard to read some more about it. The interesting thing is to see if we can check if the virtual keyboard is currently visible. So the geometry change event initially 0 values. Okay, so viewport changes. And the interesting thing is that you cannot directly check if the keyboard is displayed. You can only see if it's occluding your content. If it's not, you will probably not be able to know if it's open or not. You can still show it and hide it, but you will not get notified about the change because it's not changing the geometry and the application is still fully visible. So if we implement the is visible property, it will be kind of a sham because it will return true or false, but it's not going to reflect the, like true will always reflect the true value. It's going to be, if it's true, it's really showing and it's really occluding the content. But if it's false, it means that it's possibly displayed but on another display if you have two display device like the Surface Duo, or if you have a tablet which has a large screen, it could show up on a lower part of the device and the window could be on some other part, so it might not occlude the actual application. Hello Dimitri, how are you doing? We're waiting here for WebAssembly build to finish, so it's a fun waiting time here. All right, the application is starting up, and let's quickly catch the values. So the remote URL is this one, and I will copy paste it into my phone, and hopefully we will be able to access the site from here. Yes, that's nice. So that's gonna be interesting. So the application is starting up on the phone browser. I will switch to, oh, okay, I will scroll. Hello everybody, MCNets. Okay, I will search for it maybe here. Pane. The scrolling is not very easy if you're... I can actually touch the screen on the phone. I didn't realize. Yeah, okay, that's just fine. This is fine because the application is already running. And let's see what happens if I click try show. Try hide, try show, try hide. It's not doing anything. Why? Why is it not doing anything? It's saying the results is true, but it's not doing anything useful. That's interesting. So why is it? Okay, let's try in the browser to just see if the API is actually called. Try show. Okay, this is okay. Try show, try hide, nothing. I will just go into the source code and try to hit the breakpoint there. Virtual keyboard. So, virtual keyboard is initialized. We step into virtual keyboard, show. That's fine. And return true. So why is it not working on the phone, even though the API here was working fine? Can I use .com? Let's do virtual keyboard. And the hide method is here, the show method is here, so it seems to be supported. Okay, let's try to open the site on Chrome browser, just to confirm if it's not a different problem here. Let's wait. Or Edge Canary is maybe a good option here. Okay. Oops. Okay, here. No. We'll scroll on the phone directly. Yeah. It's a very small display. Not here. Oh, come on. Input pane tests. Try show. Try hide. And it's not working. Come on. Is there a simple way for me to test this API on the web? Virtual keyboard API sample demo Interesting. So you can set the overlays content to true. So you're setting this overlays content thing. And what does it do? Does it mean that if we don't set the overlays content to true, it does not show programmatically the keyboard? This is pretty weird. I don't understand why it does not allow me to properly show the keyboard. Zero values. Makes sense, but so this is the point where you have to read the actual standard text, and that's a little complicated because it's written in a very lawyerish language. Sticky activation. Nope. So this is very odd because we are not able to show the keyboard easily without setting it like this. Oh, this is interesting. To programmatically show the virtual keyboard, the focused element needs to be a form control or editing host. Okay. So how do we handle this? So in this case, it would work if we are in a text box or text area element, but we don't want to have it there. Or editing host, which means content editable. It probably makes sense because we don't want to make to allow users to type anything anywhere if there is no like input field for it. So, but how do we go around this limitation as we need it for this specific use case? All right. So the hiding of virtual keyboard is probably quite easy because in that specific case, it will be hidden if it's shown. but showing it requires us to focus on something textual. But in that case, if we have something, some text field that's shown, why do we need to actually have a method for showing it? Because it's gonna show up anyway. Well, the easy way out for now would be to have only the try hide method that would hide the keyboard if it's already being shown. And we can actually make a test to verify this is working. In this regard, the WebAssembly implementation will be similar to iOS, where you can hide the keyboard, but you cannot show it explicitly. So let's try to simulate this scenario by adding a text box. Try me. And I will also add a button which will do a delayed hide. So button and not text. Oh, why is it jumping all the time? Okay, delayed hide. And for this one, I'll just copy paste this. And implement it. So I will add a slight delay of, for example, 3 seconds, and then I will call try hide. So in this case, I will have time to select the text box, let the keyboard to be opened, and wait for it to be closed programmatically. Okay, so that's done. And one more thing I wanted to do is to implement the Occluded Rect, so we can see at least if the properties are being correctly set. So refresh command, showing attach. Actually, I will do one more thing, and I will refresh the properties on showing and on hiding. And now let's implement some logic. On occluded changed is an event that's called when the occlusion is changing, of course. And for that purpose, let's show, yes, so set visible occluded rect height. Okay. So we will need to implement this one and actually set the occluded rect. Right. So in the WebAssembly implementation, I will create a static method, public static void on geometry change. And I will get the X, Y, width, and height. So those values should be double. And when this happens, we'll have to make this, whoa, how is it called? Maybe in Uno, I'll just have to take inspiration from the sensor work. So devices, sensors, no, sensors, WebAssembly, because there has to be a preserve attribute. And apart from that, we'll have to add the method to be linker friendly. So in linker configuration, where is it? Yeah, here, linker definition. We will need to add it here. Or actually, why is it? Yeah, okay, here. Uno, and this is UI input pane. So it's in Uno UI WebAssembly. So here, and we will add, so for example here, type, full name, Windows UI XAML, no, it's view management, input pane, and we need to add the method of onGeometry changed, onGeometry change actually. All right, so when this happens, we will be able to set the Occluded Rect on the current instance. So we need to do input pane get for current view, or actually we have the instance here. Geometry changed or Occluded Rect, and we call it and do rect x, y, width, height, like this. And then we call instance dot on Occluded Rect changed. All right, so that's fine, but we'll need to make sure that the event actually does occur in the WebAssembly part. And to do that, we will have to initialize it somehow. So initialize partial void initialize, and we will call WebAssembly runtime invoke.js JS type initialize, like this. So this will just initialize that event and make sure that it's actually triggering this event handler. So yeah, we don't have partial, we will add it. And this is done. And let's make a small change here, because we're always initializing the input pane currently, but we probably don't need to do it immediately. We would just want to have it when it's actually requested for the first time. So I'll make it lazy, but I'll make it nullable, so it's initially null. We'll check if instance is null, or actually let's do it like this. Instance equals new input pane and return instance. So we initialize it only lazily when it's actually needed. And I will also add a private constructor. Is it a constructor? Input pane. Yeah, we don't have a constructor, so let's do input pane. And we call initialize in there. Good. So that's the important setup here. Oh, yeah, move it here. No, here. So just a little bit clean up. Yeah, we don't need this. And we will move the static method below the constructor. And, oh, actually here. And that's it. So now let's implement the initialize method in Typescript. So it's gonna be here, static initialize void. And in here, we will check if the virtual keyboard is available. And if yes, we will set up that event, and I have to check how it's done here. So it's add event listener. I can actually copy paste this whole thing. No. Come on. Yes. So add event listener. How do I add this one? Oh, shoot. Shoot. Well. So, what's the definition? Event target. So, event target. Can I do it like this? Probably not. So let's do class. And nope. Something like event target. No, I cannot do that. Or maybe this. How do I do multiple implementations in Typescript? So I need something that is an event target as well as the thing that I want. So how do I do that? Why does not this thing work? Okay. Let's try to see Typescript multiple inheritance. Okay. Type definition, event target, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, extends. So it's extends. Okay, now it's working. So I get the event target, which is I need this to be event. I need to have it in specific type. How do I do that? Okay, let's see. Typescript type definition, event type. Event so Actually, let's do it simply like this. Navigator, virtual keyboard, and bounding rect. Yeah, bounding rect. We will grab the values and then call our method. And for that, we will need to initialize the method. So we will copy paste this code from, again, sensors, because it wouldn't be nice to write it manually. So first, dispatch geometry change. So it's geometry changed. So it's on geometry change and geometry changed as an event. So I will also adjust this here to be changed. Yes, and so it's going to be X, Y, width, and height. So okay, returns an int. That's an important thing. So it should return just a arbitrary 0, and we have to initialize that, and that's done like this. Yeah, like this. So dispatch geometry changed and bind static method in UNO-UI. I hope it's like this in case of UNO-UI. Windows UI view management input pane, and let's name it dispatch geometry change. That makes more sense to make it clear it's a dispatch event. And we can actually check from some other code here. For example, the receive focus native, how it's done there, to just verify we have the this call correctly. So input pane, dispatch geometry changed. So it's, this should be, oh right, it's a colon and the method name. So not here. Pane and this one. Okay. So let's just verify this part, and we can do it by searching for this in a current project. Or maybe let's search for this one and search for it in files. Yes, UNO-UI, and then the method name and type name. Okay, so this should be done. And now we are able to actually call that event. So we call it with X, Y, width, and height. And we should be done. This, dispatch, yeah, we should be done. So let's confirm this and actually execute. Oh, it should be like this. And let's actually compile this and see what happens. So we have two things. We have the delayed hiding to test, and we have the occluded rect, which should be now showing some actual values, as long as I'm not mistaken. So it's setting it, it's notifying about the change, so I presume it should work. Okay, in the meantime, I will open the site here. And we'll see what Chrome does, but I assume it's gonna be the same thing. Where's the phone? Oh, the application died. So we need phone screen open. And let's do it. View management, input pane, try show, try hide. It's doing nothing, so I assume that's the case. That's the problem that we are trying. Oh, actually, you can see that. So I opened the input pane on the other window and clicked hide, and it worked. So that's interesting. I'm not sure if I'm doing it or it's the fact that I'm switching to a different application. Probably. Quite possibly. We'll see. Yeah, Occluded Rect is not working yet. We'll have to wait for the build to be finished. I hope I did not miss anything. So this is fine. We're setting up the event. We have it in a linker definition. So this should be fine. Yeah, hopefully it's gonna be okay. But we will see soon enough, because it's gonna either crash on us or work. I see I didn't have to call the Occluded Rect changed, because it's being called automatically when you set the Occluded Rect. So I will later remove this one. We're almost there. Sample SAP is building. So it's just one more step before it's launched. So it seems like the virtual keyboard standard was a bit more complicated than I expected. I expected it to just work easily with the show and hide. And this is quite surprising that it's not that easy. It will be interesting to see if it works on iOS, because on iOS, well, in that case you cannot even show the keyboard easily. So yeah, so even on iOS probably we would have the same problem. Okay, the application is running, so let's quickly open it on the phone. And we should have the new version now. I will confirm it here, localhost. Actually, yeah, it's fine, it's running. And let's see. Yes, we want to open developer tools. And here we have, oops. Oh, I'm not good at scrolling. Of course, this is fine. Let's do it here. input pane, input pane, and in here we get input pane tests. Oh no! We are getting exception. Initialize is not a function executing. Is it not? I thought it is. Initialize. Initialize. What? How is it not a function? Input pane. I see it is a function. So Windows UI in view management input pane. Initial. I made a mistake. Okay. That's unfortunate. So we have to repeat this one. Initialize. Right. Typo. Classic typo. Okay, let's rebuild. Yeah, so it's not even loading because the initialize function is crashing, so the whole sample is not showing up. So let's wait for the second build, hopefully this time more successful. Oh. Yeah. It's All right. Let's wait. Samples app is building, so we're almost there. Okay, let's check if we are successful this time before I even load it on the phone, so that we don't unnecessarily run it on the phone. I will check in the console if we're now getting the right content here. Oops. Yeah, okay. Input pane, search, pane. Okay, input pane tests. Okay, now it seems to be not crashing, which is nice. And we try to delete height. Whoa, that was big, but it was not caused by the API. That was caused by Visual Studio stopping the debugger. So let's switch to phone and let's see what happens there. Pane. So now we should be able to see some actual properties here. Ah, it's hiding the text. I will swap this to both screens and let's try. Oh no! So let's rotate like this and let's do it. So if I do delete hide, it does not do anything. It just does not respond to the change. Very interesting. This is very odd, as I would expect at least the geometry changed event to be properly invoked, but it does not seem to be. Let me try one more thing here. If I'm able to simulate a phone, maybe that could give us some more ideas. So search. It's probably not gonna do anything useful. Pretty sure it's not gonna help us. Yeah, this is not doing anything because the event is not giving us any data. So what else can we try? So we know that this is executed. The event itself is running. This is getting loaded. And this should be getting called because we are initializing it properly. dispatch geometry change. The unfortunate thing is that we are not able to see at all if this is getting called or not. And also we don't see this working like at all. Like the virtual keyboard hide is not doing anything. Even though it should, technically. So that's very unfortunate. Bounding rect, we have that. Very odd. Okay. Well, how do we solve this puzzle? Debugging it via JavaScript directly would probably work, but we will have to develop some site on which we can test it. I'm surprised that the demo is working, but our code is not. So what is this script doing? Yeah. So it's preventing default, focusing. And what is the input? Compose, form, pass, user modified. It's just a normal text field, so I don't see why it shouldn't show the keyboard automatically. Bounding rect, that's what we are using here. Yeah, bounding rect. Geometry change, that's correct. Maybe I will really have to set the overlays content to true, but I don't see how that would be relevant, but let's try it. So navigator, virtual keyboard, overlays content true. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's rebuild UWP to make sure that the JavaScript part is rebuilt. But if this doesn't work, then we are in a very big pickle. I guess this will require further research, at least to test a low level, just JavaScript side, the HTML and the JavaScript, to see if what happens there, because in this case we have UNO platform on top of it, we have WebAssembly on top of it, so it's a little bit harder to debug, and it also takes longer to build the whole thing. So I guess you would just switch to HTML and JavaScript and test the things there. So in this regard, it seems like the better status API will be easier to implement, because it is it seems to be more well-defined API in terms of that it doesn't have any limitations, like you have to have specific HTML element focused and so on, which is something that I did not count with here. Yeah. So for example here, yeah, if the focused element is not a form control or editing host, then abort these steps, which is completely, extremely limiting. So same thing here. Virtual keyboard policy has to be manual. Ah, that's interesting. So that's why the hide method is not working, because the currently focused element has to have the virtual keyboard policy set to manual. And that's a bad thing, because it means that it's not really usable in a general scenario where you want to open or close the virtual keyboard anytime, because it's gonna happen only if the element has a specific type and has a specific virtual keyboard policy, which is not something that will happen all the time, and I would say in most of the times. So yeah, so it seems this API will be actually not really usable thing for UNO, at least for now, before they adjust this some way so that you can specifically open and close the virtual keyboard when requested. It could be something that's worth requesting in the GitHub, because they usually have a GitHub group. Yeah. Well, there's, here maybe. And you can post issues, so that would be interesting to yeah, it would be interesting to post some issue on this to see if they can enable in some way the application to manually open and close the keyboard even though no input element is focused, because that's a scenario that you would use, for example, in games, where you would open the keyboard if you have some virtual input field rendered, but you don't want to actually render an input field physically. Or in case we, for example, would have Skia Sharp backend for WebAssembly, in that case also you would have to either render the native input field on top of the website, or have a facility like this to open and close the input pane. So that's quite tricky. Let's switch back to the phone and see what happens now. But I doubt now that the result will be different. Especially because we have read the standard, the relevant part that says that you will be not able to manually hide in case the field does not allow it. So yeah, it seems that is the case. Yes, so there is no change in the Occluded Rect and visibility, so it seems really that this API is not really suitable for this specific purpose yet. but we at least have created this nice sample page that allows testing of input pane. So that's something that's going to be useful for Android and iOS where this API is implemented. So it was not all for nothing, even though I would definitely love to have a proper implementation of WebAssembly, but well, we tried at least. Hello, Rubio. Well, okay, so we have probably for now finished this part. And we can at least get started with the battery status API because so at least we have something to show that we actually finished today successfully. So I will first push this sample by itself. Will not push these changes because they are kind of WebAssembly specific, and we don't want to do it for now. So let's do test input pane API. Yeah, and push it. And I will for now stash these changes for some later use. Okay, and let's switch back to master and let's do def muzzy and battery, power manager it's called in UWP WebAssembly. So again, not gonna implement all of it right now, but I think that I have a sample page for Power Manager already, so we can actually check that here in samples app. And what is the Power Manager namespace? UWP, it's Windows System Power. Come on. So what we could actually implement, and that would be a nice thing as a starter at least, the battery status enum support. So it's charging, discharging, idle, not present, and we should be able to implement that by checking the charging status on WebAssembly. So let's see, Windows System Power Manager. So yeah, so in this case I'm on a desktop PC, so battery status is not present. Energy saver, power supply status, yeah, remaining charge, 100% charge remaining, that's pretty nice. All right, so let's open the WebAssembly portion of the code and we will see what happens. Hello Arthur, I'm currently trying to implement support for battery Power Manager API into UNO platform. So this is this class and has multiple properties, and for now I'm focusing on this battery status property that's showing if the device that's currently running the application is charging or discharging and so on. Oh, what's confusing specifically? I can try to explain. Oh, so like UNO platform is a cross-platform application framework which allows you to build Windows applications and bring them to all targets, including Android, iOS, macOS, WebAssembly, so the web, and Linux and Tizen, and basically everything that has a screen. So yeah, this API is a fully cross-platform API, so you can write one single snippet of code and it will run everywhere the same way. And currently I'm focusing on this API, the Power Manager, which should give you information about whether the device which is currently being running the application is charging or not charging and so on. And for this specific purpose, we have it implemented on Android and iOS, but we don't have it yet on web version of UNO platform, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So I will be trying to implement support for this specific feature on the web. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I'm not promising anything yet, but it has the potential of working. So I will do WebAssembly and clean this up. Nullable enable, and I will start with the simple thing, the most simple thing, which is checking if the Power Manager is available. And actually, Power Manager is a static class, so we don't have to check for its availability. It's just there, and it either gives you the status of battery or not. I'll for now do it like this, because we don't have the other, we won't have the other properties implemented yet. And if, and we will implement for now only the battery status. So battery status. And we will have it on WebAssembly enabled. And let's see if we can implement it easily like this. So public void get battery, battery status. And we will have to invoke a JavaScript method there. So we'll do private const string JS type. The type is gonna be Windows System Power Manager, and we will call WebAssembly runtime. Invoke JS, and it's gonna be JS type dot get battery status. So this will return a string, and we will try to parse it into a battery status enum. So if enum capital try parse type of battery status, so battery, okay, battery status, and status, and out. Oh, right, it has to be like this. So the battery status string, and out var battery status, and return battery status. And otherwise we will just return, we fall back to not available, not present. Right, so this is fine. And now we implement this method in Typescript. What is complaining about this partial? And let's go here. Typescript, Windows, System, Power Manager, TS. Okay, now let's copy paste the basic structure. Boom. And System Power Manager And now let's implement the method. So it's gonna be a static method, which is gonna be called get battery. It's gonna be public static status, returning a string. And now let's check the documentation a little bit. So in here, get battery method. So it's on navigator and it's a promise. So that's actually a little problem because we will have to await this and we will not be able to get the battery immediately unless we initialize it beforehand. And the question is, do I have a place to put this? So the battery status API itself is not asynchronous. So we could maybe fake it a little bit. Make sure that the first time it's requested, it will return idle, and it will store the battery in a field on the JavaScript side. And on the second request, it will be able to answer with the proper value. Use battery. Yeah, let's do it for now as simply as possible, just to make sure that we have something working. So all right. So let's do it like this. We'll create an interface for this purpose. Let's steal it from sensors 0, for example, here. And so it's gonna be on navigator. Promise battery manager. Get battery. Battery manager. So this class has a charging attribute, right? So charging, boolean, and we'll be able to retrieve it. So we'll create a static property battery manager, and if battery is not initialized, we will asynchronously get it. So await navigator get battery. Oh, maybe let's do it like this first. So if navigator get battery exists even, so if it does not exist, we will return null. So in this specific case, we don't return anything and it's not available. Or actually we can use the not present value, so not present. In case the battery is available and it's null, oh, it's so static, so we have to like this. If not available, we will set it. Battery. Let's set it. Yeah, it has to be a synchronous promise. So let's do it like this. Oh, it's promise. Okay, it's returning. I think actually I can do it like this. Yeah. But in this case, I don't want it to be asynchronous. Hello, Luis. Yeah. So this will be an ugly solution for now, but it's gonna be better than nothing. Invoke async. So I will invoke it asynchronously. So it will always complete asynchronously. So it will complete asynchronously in case it's not yet complete. So so it will set it asynchronously and then it will return the result. Charging. If it's charging, it will return battery status. Battery status charging. And otherwise it's going to be discharging. So this will complete asynchronously. I will mark it here as async. And that gives us a slight complication here because we are in a synchronous method. So it's going to be a task. And now we have two things to keep in mind. If the task is completed, we are able to actually get the result and properly parse it. So battery status string result task result. And then return it. That would be the ideal case. But if it's not complete, then we will have to, unfortunately, return battery status idle. And then hope that on the second invocation that will be available already. So it's not the best solution. It's not the solution I would like for now, but for now at least we'll have something that will show us it works. And later we can adjust it and improve it. I would say that for this specific case, the good solution would be to add a UNO platform specific method that would initialize asynchronously the power manager before we actually first access it. And this method would be available on all targets, but on other targets then WebAssembly it would do nothing. But in case of WebAssembly it would initialize the battery object. Okay, let's try what this will do. just out of curiosity to see if this simple solution is working. I think it should be working, so let's see. I will be starting this in iOS Express, and let's wait for it to build. And of course we have to fix this error. Yeah. Okay, let's try it again. Come on. Come on, come on. Okay, let's wait and see what happens. Anyways, so let's read this further. So it's possible that the promise will return not allowed error, which is something we're not handling right now. We should be handling it when this is implemented properly, but for now let's ignore this. And let's go further. So this is all about the charging. And yeah. Yeah, unfortunately we don't have the API as asynchronous, so that's a tricky thing to map it to the actual API. This charging discharging time level, which is the battery percentage. Not sure if there is a property for battery percentage. I think it should be there. Yeah, remaining charge present. That's the one that I need. That should be also quite easy to implement. All right. So anyways, at least we will have some simple implementation for now. So that this whole live coding is not a big failure, because the virtual keyboard was kind of a failure because it didn't work properly. So at least something functional would be nice to have. It's quite odd solution from Microsoft side to have the Power Manager as a static class instead of a normal class that has an instance and you can actually get the Power Manager, because in some cases, like the device sensors, I think they have asynchronous APIs, like the lamp, there is get default async, and that's perfectly what we need. Like we would like to have this API instead of having it static. Right. Hopefully it's gonna be soon loaded. Right here. Okay. Still loading. We are. Oh, it's already building the samples app, so it's gonna be anytime now. Okay. Come on, we're almost there. In the samples application, let's see. Like this sample is not really too advanced, it just shows the values, but it should be enough for our purposes, at least for now. It's complaining that we're not using these properties, so we have to hide them for now. Only keep what we need. So hopefully this will be enough. Yeah. Let's run it again. Right. Let's have fingers crossed that this works. So the situation should be that we should get first time idle value, and the second time we should get the proper value of, in this case, charging. And in a case of a phone, it should be discharging if I disconnect the cable. So we're building samples app now. We're almost there. So let's see. I hope it doesn't crash this time. Come on. Come on, come on. Yeah. We know, but we're not doing anything. Anyways, we can for now check the what web can do site. Boom. So just to confirm, we have battery status, and we should be able to see that we are charging, and we have 100% charge level. So let's hope that the same thing will be shown in our case. And I can actually show it here in the console, sources, UNO-UI, once it loads. And there should be Power Manager. We should be able to see here that it will hit that property for the second time when we request it. So Power Manager. All right, it was very quickly returned, and we get charging. So this is good. So from the JavaScript side, it was immediately finished, and we were able to return it, but there is an error. It is not implemented. And the reason is that we're not checking for those exceptions. Here. And so in this case, the page is actually trying to do all of this, but it's not checking for exceptions, so it might fail, and that causes the whole thing to crumble. So I will make a safe getter, safe action, with which gonna be have a proper parameter of action, and it will do try action and catch, and just ignore the exceptions. Ignore. This is also not an ideal implementation, but it should be enough at least for the purposes of the sample. So in here we will actually, let's do just func getter, safe getter, and we will get some result from there. So it's gonna be return action. So we can just now wrap this in safe getter. All right. So just to make sure that the sample doesn't crash immediately. I'm not sure if this can crash. I guess not. It should not crash, at least. I think so. So save getter, in case it's not. So it's, I will return not available or not implemented. All right, so let's try again. And now I'm fairly confident that we should see the page load correctly and see the values on that side or on that page. Mm-hmm. Let's actually see this website on a phone. So if I scroll to battery status, you should see that the phone is at 34% battery. If I disconnect the charger, it's now discharging. So it does react to changes of the cable being connected or not connected. Which is pretty nice, pretty cool. Once again, discharging and charging. Okay, the application is now running, so let's see if our changes helped. Again, I will open the developer tools as well, so that we have a clear view of what's happening. And let's go. So it's System Power Manager, and you can see that battery status is idle, and for the second time it's still idle. Whoa, that's interesting. Okay, let's go here. It seems like the API is not, the task is not waiting for, not getting finalized immediately, which is probably due to the fact that the implementation between managed task and the promise is something different and behaves differently. Well, and in any case, the good thing is that the API is now correctly getting the battery status. So we can actually store it here. Like this. And well, that's interesting pickle. Oh, nice. That's a solution. We can have two methods. One is the asynchronous that will, in case the power manager is not yet initialized, it will start the initialization, and the second one will be the one that actually gives us the battery status. That should be quite good. Initialize async. So this will be asynchronous initialization. We don't know if it will complete in time, and this one will get the battery status. And with this solution in hand, we should be able to do this. Yeah. So this will later have to be moved into some initialization method, but for now we will keep it here for simplicity. And in the power manager, we'll create a public static async initialize async promise string. This will initialize the power manager. And then there will be the get battery status method, which will give us the latest and greatest battery status. So if battery, then return battery yeah, like this. Power manager battery charging, and it's going to be charging or discharging. And if it's not yet initialized, it will return idle. And that's it. All right, so we should be now ready to get this working properly. Yeah, we have to return some ambiguous value just to make it satisfied, but this makes sense to me, so we actually don't need this, and we will get the battery after the first proper initialization happens. So get battery status, initialize async, and in Power Manager we have initialize async, get battery status. Yeah. So let's try this one more time. Okay. Still building. The builds are taking a long time, but it's just too many projects already, so it has to take some time to actually work. Let's see what else we have here. Like payments are an interesting API that could be implemented. Probably not in a platform agnostic way, but it still could be interesting to have it. Inter-app sharing, that's like like sharing via this dialogue of sharing. That's something that could be implemented, and maybe we actually did implement it in some way. There are credentials, background syncing, not really interesting for us. Store distribution could be interesting. So because we have basically a cross-platform framework, that means we could have like Android and iOS counterpart to a website written in WebAssembly. Run on startup, I don't think that's something. Well, theoretically this could be useful because UWP has run on startup feature which you can set up. So we could add this as an option. Well, porting the widgets app to Uno platform will be definitely interesting. Like I'm not sure if how many features could be really ported, because it's specifically OS integration specific, but some features definitely could be. So why not? Well, maybe you could actually have widgets on Android and widgets on iOS, even though those would be platform-specific code, and Uno would not help you there yet. Hopefully in the future. Okay, let's see what happens here. Power Manager. Initialize is saying, so first it should be initialized and then we should get the battery status. I will put it here. That's the part that interests us most. And Power Manager. So for the first time it's idle. For the second time it's actually checking the charging status. So now we should get charging and it should be charging for the upcoming checks. And now let's see the same thing on the phone, because there we will be able to see some actual values. So let's open. Oh no, it's not connecting. I will have to run it again. I have to run it again. Yeah. Now I should be able to open it. No. Why not? Because it's a different URL. Yeah, that's the reason. It's fine. Okay. All right. Now it's running on the phone. So we should be able to check if changing the value of charging does something. Oh, no. Oh no. I probably opened a 3-view sample. The scrolling is not working properly on touchscreen. I have to ask if that's something we know about or it's a new issue. But let's do it like this. Power and Power Manager. So first it's idle, but second time we should see charging. And if I disconnect the charging cable, we should see discharging. So yeah, the API is working now. So at least we have the first property of battery status implemented, and it's actually working. So that's great. All right. So even though we didn't manage too much today, we at least got this part working. And the next improvement would be to move the initialization out of this method to some shared method that will have to be called first to ensure that the battery is initialized, and maybe allow it to be initialized asynchronously before any of those properties are actually called. But at least we have some starting point, and we will continue on this on the next time. All right. Thank you for joining this live coding session. It's been a long time, and I hope it will be now more frequent, and hopefully we'll be having these live coding sessions more regularly. So thank you for joining, and have a great day, great night, great morning, whatever is your time zone currently. So bye-bye.